English for teaching purposes. Classifying.
Sorting things into stacks seems to be natural for humans. We do it all the time. When we put away the shopping, when we put away our clothes, when we sort our invoices. Classification consists on grouping together things that are similar. Division complements it in that it breaks one single item into its component parts. We will classify and divide in accordance to one criterion at a time. When we classify, we pile up similar things into categories that should be mutually exclusive and as exhaustive as possible. We could create the categories ourselves. A category's traits should establish clear boundaries between each other, but the truth is that category boundaries tend to be quite fuzzy. Exhaustive descriptions and detailed explanations of the conditions required for each item to become a part of a class will also be necessary. You will also need to supply a generous amount of examples and illustrations so students can relate the frequently abstract categories to a more concrete case. Okay, time to examine the language we need to present classifications to our students. As we said before, we need to focus both classifications and divisions on one leading principle. Expressions like, there are X kinds of Y, X is broken into Y classes, are frequently used to present classifications. There are many more verbs we can use instead of the previous. Take, for example, assort, divide into, subdivide, group, organize, and sort. All of them are verbs that will help us introduce a category or a set of categories. But beware! Remember that whenever you do a classification, you need to stick to a classifying principle. The world principle itself is perfectly adequate, but the one we seem to prefer, because it's more technical and perhaps more popular, is criterion if there is one principle, or criteria if we use more than one guiding principle. You can also refer to classifying principles using words like aspect, basis, characteristic, feature, property, or trait. When we either classify or divide, we end up having a set of classes that we also need to name. Although we will encourage our students to use the technical words for each category, sometimes we will need a general term to refer to them. When that is the case, choose words like category, class, group, instance, kind, rank, series, sort, type, and variety. You can use passive structures to express the action of fragmenting a unit. Look at the following. P is made of Q, R, and S. P can be divided into Q, R, and S. You can also use active verbs like comprise, enclose, encompass, include, when describing the motion of piling up elements onto their stack, The verbs will be quite different. Arrange, assort, classify, label. Needless to say, when we present a classification in class, we need to know where it comes from and what it is supposed to achieve. In class, students will want to make sure they have understood not only what the classification is about, but how many categories it is made of. It seems trivial, but it isn't. Whenever possible, mention the total number of classes that you will present when you're dealing with classification and division. X consists of 5 parts. And then use ordinals as in, first we have X, or firstly we'll talk about X. And then use expressions like finally, last. The last one is, to illustrate this, watch Ainhoa Flecha from the School of Education here at the UAB elicit 4 components from her mock students.
So, which are the 4 factors in which the teachers communicate the children what they expect from them? One, the first one, the climate factor, perfect. They create a better climate with the better, or the students they believe are better. The second one,
input factor, better explanation.
the input factor, they give them more materials, they teach them more. Perfect. The third one, response opportunity. If you expect a child to have to give you a good response, you're going to give them more opportunities to respond well. And also he says that the teacher and the student cooperate or collectively developed a good response. And the fourth one, the feedback factor, perfect. Okay, so we give more in front of a bad response. If we believe, if we don't expect much from a student, we leave it there. But if we would expect a good response from that student, we give them more feedback, and because we think he can do better. And well, that's it. Thank you very much.
Presenting classifications in English doesn't need to be an ordeal. All we need is to organize the information as meticulously as possible and use language pointers we feel comfortable with. With this suggestion, we'll leave you until next time.